Hey again, guys. Today I'm going to be working on my 69 Mach 1 again. I was headed out for a little ride to a car rally a couple weeks ago and got there fine, although I noticed some surging going down the road. And on the way home, I stopped at a stoplight and it stalled out and had to use some ether in the carburetor to get it going again. And every time I stopped, it stalled out. So I think I'm due for a carburetor rebuild. This is a 351 Windsor 4-barrel. It's got the Ford Motorcraft 4300 carburetor. It's a kind of a quadrajet type carburetor. A lot of people don't like them. I've never really been fond of them. Some of these cars came with Hollies on them, but this one came with this 4300. So I'm going to be pulling that off and rebuilding it here. I got a rebuild kit from Mike's Carburetors. I'll put a link to that in the comment section. And I'll show you what I'm doing here over the next, I don't know, maybe a couple days. I've got some things to do today, so I'll probably start on it, but I may not finish it today. But anyway, I'll be pulling that off. I got to take the choke and stuff off, and obviously the linkage. It's not a real big deal to take off. And I'm sure the last time this thing was even opened up was probably in excess of 30 years ago. And, it sits more than it's driven. And that combined with the ethanol gas and everything, I'm sure some seals have dried up and things like that. So it's due for freshening up. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll keep you posted along the way. Well, guys, we got the carburetor off the car. I'm going to go wear some gloves working on this. Got it up on some little stands here. I see people that work on carburetors do this a lot. I've never done it that way. We'll see if it makes anything any better. Get my gloves blown up. I can get them on here. Okay, the first thing we got to do is take out the air cleaner bolt. It goes all the way through to the throttle plate and kind of sandwiches everything together. And I need to take off the fuel filter. That's got a little gasket on it, which I'm sure comes in the kit. Well, we've got a bunch of Phillips head screws here on the top, with the exception of one special screw, and this is a slotted head. It goes right here. You got to be sure that goes back into that particular place. I think it's either a little longer or a little shorter. I'm not sure, one or the other than the other screws. We'll pull it out first and look at it. Sure we will. There we go. Okay, that's that one. Now let's pull out the one next to it, see if it's what different size it is. Okay, so the slotted head one is a little longer than the other ones. So we got to be sure that goes back in that spot. And I am going to, just for my own edification, put a little mark there so I won't forget. That's Gliptol, by the way. Usually it's an electrical insulator. I use it for marking parts. It's kind of a red enamel paint that I use, and I'm going to use it on the jets back here. I'm going to put a drop on the top and screw them in and count how many turns it is so that I know exactly where they are and put them close to back to where they were when I started. This part of the carburetor I'm going to take off is called the air horn. I guess that's because that's where the air goes through. It's where your choke plate and everything is. Of course, we got to disconnect all of that before we can lift the air horn off. We also got to disconnect, you can't see it from the side, but we got to disconnect the accelerator pump linkage. And that's kind of one of those things where you got to hold your mouth just right, from what I understand. See if I can get these other screws out of here. One more here in the middle. Two over here. That looks to be all the screws there. Now on the accelerator pump, it's got 3 holes here for the linkage, and it's got a little pin that you can spread apart on the end. You squeeze that together. And then you push it through. It's in the middle hole, which is supposed to be standard. And then one hole is for more accelerator shot, and another one is for less. But, you know, the center is where it came out, that's where it's going to go back. This little spring here holds this end on it, goes through this little linkage here, so we got to take that spring out. That linkage kind of comes out, and that's the accelerator pump linkage. And the accelerator pump pulls up and down on there. Okay, we got that linkage off. That should come off with the, we got to take the choke linkage off. That's got a little C-clip or E-clip, whatever you call it. I call them both interchangeably. I also have a little tool. This is back from my 1970s radio days. This is great for putting them back on. You can slip that back in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it allows you to slip those C-clips back on. I don't know, it says made in Germany. It's got a part number on it, but I don't know where it came from. One of my associate technicians gave this back to me back in the 70s. I don't know where he got it, but I've kept it since, and I use it anytime I have to take anything apart that's got those C-rings in it, clips. Okay, we should be able to take the air horn off now. It's got a gasket underneath it, so it's probably stuck. See if I can find a place to get some leverage here. There we go. Okay. That's the air horn. My gasket's brittle here. Not surprising, it came apart. It's just cracking, so that's probably not good. This is the accelerator. No, this is not the accelerator pump. That's the accelerator pump. This is a power valve. These are the floats, and I've been told they're very delicate. So if you need to adjust them, you only bend these metal parts. You never push on the floats themselves. I've been told that you can't get replacements. I don't know if that's still true or not, but I don't want to test that theory. So anyway, that's the air horn. I'm going to go ahead and take the floats off. This pin comes out. It just slips out. There's no retainer, but the head of it goes to the side that the fuel filter goes on. Somehow I think there's something down in here that retains it once you put it back together. So I think I'm gonna pull that out. Now, it's supposed to just pull right out. I guess it's probably got so much junk and crud on it that it's not going to. And that's the power valve. I just had to twist that to get it out. So I'm going to set this aside. And this is the gasket I told you that's brittle. So we can just throw that away. I'm going to set it over here aside to be sure I can compare it with the new one that I got to be sure it's the same one. But at any rate, okay, there's supposed to be a valve right there. There's also supposed to be a check valve in here, which a little ball check, which appears to be missing. That's not good. If I can get this guy out of here. There we go. There, it's a small little check valve. It's got a point on it that goes in there. I believe that's a replacement in the kit. Maybe not. So I'll be careful with that. Like I said, there's supposed to be a ball in there. I'm going to have to check. Well, I've got all kinds of junk here in my fuel bowls. Sediment and junk, which I guess that comes from 30 years of sitting and ethanol gas. Yeah, that's pretty junked up. Take the accelerator pump here. It's supposed to squeeze the sides of that cavity there. It's shrunk and hardened down to where it doesn't even touch the sides. So that was doing absolutely nothing, and it's brittle, so definitely that needed to be replaced. There's also a retaining spring down in here and a ball. I'm going to take the retainer spring out. I think I am. The retaining spring, all it does is hold the little check ball down in place. Come on. It's kind of a spiral spring. If you turn it clockwise, it'll release that one side. and go get a magnet to get that ball out of there. And there's the little ball. I'm really bothered that there's not a check ball in here. It's a problem. This is part of the power valve. It should move up and down. Of course, I'm going to pull that out of there later. But it should move smoothly, and it does. And there's the two jets. I'll pull them out and clean it. See if that ball will come out of there. Nope, there is no ball in there. Now I've got to find out why. Maybe this particular model doesn't use one, but every one I've ever seen, every video I've ever seen showed that ball, and to be very careful about not losing it. So something's amiss there. Maybe whoever worked on this carburetor 30 years ago lost it and didn't put it back in. And it's not in this piece here, not in the air horn. So not sure what's going on with that. Okay, well, I'm going to flip this over now and take the body off, the throttle body, and then I'll be able to take everything off and clean it. And it's going to need some severe cleaning. And we'll see how that goes. I think there's only 6 screws here that hold the throttle body on to the, the throttle plate onto the main body. And there's a gasket between it as well. And if it's anything like the other gasket, it's probably brittle too. See if I can get these screws out of here. That one's kind of stubborn. Okay, well, this came right off. See if we can peel this gasket up here without destroying it. It's already cracked. Cracked there between the venturis. So, still try to be as careful as I can to match it up with my new gasket. So you can see it's cracked in several places. And this is pretty dirty too, down here. A couple more things to disassemble. Got all these little passages and things I'll have to clean out. I'm going to pull the jets out and the power valve. Let's look at the throttle body. I'm going to check for any play in the plates. Doesn't appear to be. Oh. See, the secondaries shouldn't be locked down. There we go. They were kind of sticky. I'll be cleaning those out as best I can too. these are the jets. And like I said, I'm going to put a drop of Gliptol on those, and then I'm going to count the number of revolutions to fully seat them. And I'm not going to seat them tightly because you can damage them. I'm going to count those revolutions back out, and that way when I reinstall them, I can put them in and then back it out so they'll be in exactly the same place. So they need to be adjusted anyway, but I want to have a good starting spot. So let me get a little bit of carburetor cleaner and shoot that off so I can get the Gliptol to stick. I want to clean them off so the Gliptol will have something to adhere to. And all I need is just a little drop. That way when I turn them in, I'll know exactly when to get them back to the same place. Primaries seem plenty free. I don't see any need to pull them out. And the secondaries, like I said, were a little sticky, but I think I can clean them up without having to disassemble them. Of course, I want to make sure that these throttle plate screws are tight and not loose. Other than that, I think I just need to get into the cleaning phase. Start cleaning these passages. I don't have a tank big enough to dump the whole body in, so I've got to be able to clean this piece by piece. I've also got to get these floats out of here. There we go. There's the floats. I'll clean them up a little bit. But like I said, they're pretty delicate. And this carburetor has two valves for the inputting the gas. This is the main one. It's got that little washer on it. And this comes in the replacement kit, so I'll be replacing that. And the seat. It also has a secondary valve, which I'm going to plug off. This gives a lot of problem in these carburetors, so I've been told and read about, can cause flooding. And I think that's part of my problem is the carburetor gets a little warm and it floods. So Mike's Carburetor sells a plug to go in there, so I'll be taking that out and putting a plug in it. Really doesn't affect anything. And then we've got to take this. This is stuck. It's supposed to slide up and down. I need to take this out and clean it up, and it's pinned in there with, you know, just where they've pinned the metal over. I need to clean that out. But that should push against this. But as you can see, it's stuck. Another problem that this carburetor has got. These are vents, they don't come out. So I need to go and clean all these passages out and everything. God, that thing is... Need to clean up the end of that pin there because I don't want to destroy destroy the holder there. So like I said, the rest of this is going to be cleanup. I do need to remove the seat. I'm going to remove that valve as well. I'm going to remove this piston and free it up, put it back in there, and I'll be replacing some things. So as I get to those things, I'll show you the video on that. I got most of the carburetor disassembled, and I did some pretty basic rough cleaning yesterday. I got most of the junk out of the bowl here. I used carburetor cleaner and even some brake cleaner and a brush and got it out. And then I took my Dremel tool with a little small wire brush and went in there and polished everything. And it took quite a while. I did the same thing on the throttle body and the air horn. I found quite a few passages that were completely blocked up, and I ended up having to use this little small wire. I don't know what size it is. It's bitty. I don't know what it is. It's actually came off of a wire a wire tie, like you get with things that you tie. You know, I used to call them bread ties, and I stripped the insulation off and used it. But these two holes right here from the accelerator pump discharge valve, they were completely blocked, and I had to run the wire through there. Totally blocked up, no movement through there. And then here on the air horn, there were 4 other passages about the same size, completely blocked up. I had to rod them out with this wire, and you know, then I was able to spray carburetor cleaner through there and get them opened up. Quite the experience. I don't know how anything even worked. And then I bought a set of brushes from Mike's Carburetor. These, you know, various sizes. None were this small. So anyway, I run those brushes through all the other passages, and they came out with all kinds of gunk on them. So anyway, I got them cleaned up and polished up pretty good with the wire brush. I'm gonna try to dip them. I bought some carburetor dip to dip the small parts in, and these won't fit in the can, so I'm hoping I can, after I dip the small parts and get them clean, I can maybe put this in a little aluminum pan and lay them down in there and get them clean. Let me show you what I have over here. I bought this carburetor dip. It comes with a little basket, and you dip that in there. I'm going to put the small parts in there, not the fuel filter. Put those small parts in there and let those soak and clean them up. And then I'm going to pour this, like I said, into a shallow pan, and hopefully it'll be enough to at least get most of that dipped and clean. And once I do that, I'll take it out and I'll probably go over it all again with some carburetor cleaner and blow out the passages and everything and be sure that it's all cleaned up. And then I'll start the reassembly, which I'll video for you guys. But that's what I'm doing right now. That's my Dremel tool with the brushes I use to clean everything up. Some of these pieces, this is the this is the piece that was completely blocked up on the power valve. It was locked up completely. The accelerator pump, you can see that it's cracked and shrunk and chipped and not sealing at all. And then this was the power valve. Get the focus here. See how filthy that is on the inside. I'll clean all that up. So hopefully this stuff does the job and will keep me from having to toothbrush it all clean. But if I have to, that's what I'll do. So when I get everything clean and start the reassembly, I'll be back. So I soaked my parts in my carburetor cleaner, a couple hours a piece on each section and the little pieces parts. And they came out pretty good. I'm pleased with it. I went over everything again with some more carburetor cleaner and rotted out more passages. Like I said, you know, some of these were extremely blocked up, and I had to actually run the wire through them like that. And, you know, white junk came out. So there were these two passages blocked up completely, and there were 4 passages in here blocked up completely. I don't know how the carburetor even functioned, but at any rate, it did poorly. So I'm going to start reassembling this guy now. First thing I'm going to do is put these jets back in. Actually, the idle mixture screws, I call them jets. Put these idle mixture screws back in. And like I said, I put some Gliptol on them and made sure that I knew how many turns to turn them out. And that one's seated there, so I'm going to go out 1.5 turns. That's 1.5, and that's where the Gliptol shows. I had them marked left and right, that's why I had them in these bags, just to be sure that I put them in where they came out. Probably not necessary, but I'm a little OCD on that kind of stuff. Okay, so this one goes out 1.5. That's 1.5. Again, the Gliptol's there. They don't look even though. Let me try that again. Oh, this one came out more than 1.5. I must not. There, I didn't have it seated all the way. So that's 1.5. Do this one again. 1.5. Okay. Yeah, now they're even. This one I didn't have seated all the way. Alright, so now I'm going to put in the power valve. And I've got my handy dandy 1969 shop manual here. I'm looking to make sure there's no gasket under here. And there's not. This is all cleaned and freed up. I'm going to get it started with these needle nose. Go. And I'll put in the 2 jets. The trick on these is you need a screwdriver that'll fit all the way across so you're not galling them up. A giant screwdriver for such a small thing, but the important part is to get the blade that'll fit in there. So I want to get them started before I use that giant screwdriver on them. And got that one started. Looks like that's a 68. No, that's a 63. That means that 63 thousandths is the hole there. And the hole is what determines the size and the richness. I'm not going to experiment with those. Okay, those are in there. Now I want to put the accelerator pump ball and retaining spring in. I'm going to clean the ball up just a little bit more. You know, there may be a new ball in the kit. Let me look there. Yes, there is. So we'll put the new ball in. What happened to the old one here? There's the old one. Oh, and remember when I took this apart, I thought I was missing a check ball in here. I looked at here on my manual, and I also checked with Mike at Mike's Carbs, and this revision, excuse me, this revision is a little newer revision, and it doesn't use the check ball. So that's good news. I was concerned about that. See if I can get this one ball out of here. There we go. A little nicer looking and newer than the other one. That's down in the hole. And now we get the spring in here. And the spring just lays across the ball to keep the ball from popping out. So you have to be sure that it's just, the ball is free, but not going to jump out. Yep. The ball's flopping around in there, but the spring is over top of it, so it's not going to come out. And the accelerator pump itself, the other, you know, this one I put the new cup here on it. It's soft rubber. Now it's snug going up and down in there. The other one, you know, was flopping around in there, not even touching the sides, so it really wasn't moving much gas. I'm going to put a little bit of silicone on that just to make it slide in a little better when the time comes to assemble that. So I think I'm ready to put these two pieces together. I need to match up the gasket that I had. So let me get the old gasket. This is the old one, and it's cracked up pretty well. And let's see, it went on that way. Yeah. So let me find the corresponding gasket here in this kit. That's not it. That's the main body gasket. I think this is it. Yep, all the holes line up. So I think that's it. Double check to see there's two of those, a couple of those. Let's see, this one's different, but it's not like, I don't think it's like the one I had. You know what? That one's actually closer than this one. It's got this little piece on the bottom that this one doesn't have. So I'm going to use this one. Yep. Okay. Now Mike Mike's carburetor suggests to spray these with silicone before you put them on, so I'm going to do that. He said it keeps them pliable so that the gas doesn't make them brittle. I'm going to kind of pat that silicone off a little bit. There we go, get a better paper towel here. Okay, now I'll put this guy on here, I think. All right. Everything appears to be lined up. Let me. That's the back of the carburetor. This is the front of the throttle plate. I just need to set it up on something so that it's pushing down. Let me grab something here. Put a couple blocks of wood here underneath this. Give it a little room. These flathead screws go in there. Make sure the holes line up. I cleaned all the screws up with the carburetor cleaner dip too. Made life a little easier. And looks like I'm missing a screw here. What have I done? Well, that's not good. All right, let's see where my screw is here. It's got to be here. I was pretty careful about them. Maybe it's stuck to the magnet somewhere. All right, guys, let me do a little searching for the screw and I'll get back to you. All right, I'm back. I found the screw. It was stuck to the bottom side of my magnetic cup screw holder there. So, double check that I have these tight. Okay. Blocks of wood here. All right. Put this little valve well, let me hang on to that for a second. Do a little assembling here. And put the piston back in here. stake that. That goes in. You grab a little brass hammer. First, I want to tap it down to be sure that it's seated all the way, and I'm just going to. And now I need to just peen over a little bit. I'm going to start with a screwdriver. Just peen over a little bit of this cast material to kind of put it in to keep it staked in there. Got one little stake over there. Get my little block of wood over here. Give it something to bear against. And I think I can stake it right here. Okay, I think we got that. And that little spring needs to go up and down. Like that. Before it was frozen solid. So again, that's not a good thing, but I'm going to put a drop of oil in here. There's a little vent for it. In fact, that's how I was able to get that out. I scraped around and got the stakes off, and then I stuck a little small punch down in there and tapped it, and it came out. So that goes in and hits that little plunger. And like I said, with a little oil in there, we got it moving freely. And it pushes against this piston here. Not sure why that action needs to be done that way, but it is. So now I'm going to put the new valve seat in. And it comes with a little gasket that has to go on there. That goes in here. I believe it's a 7/16 wrench, yeah. I don't know why they made it square. It's a little awkward to get a wrench on there, but it is what it is. almost enough room to get a wrench on there, but not quite. Want it snug anyway. Okay. And then the little valve goes in there. And now the float, the delicate float, goes on. Oh, excuse me, I got to put the plug in first. This is where the secondary, that's the secondary. Where's the plug? There's the plug. And there was a secondary valve here, but now you put a plug in there. Move that. See if this big screwdriver will fit in there. Yeah. Okay. Now the float. And again, the head of the pin goes in from this side. Yeah. Block of wood again. Okay, now we're supposed to be able to adjust that float from the base here, which is the bottom float, to be 3/16 of an inch. Well, I mean, 13/16, I'm sorry. 13/16. Let me mark that with a pen or pencil here just so I can see it. I know I had one back here. There we go. 13/16. Good if I got on the inch side. Okay, so this is marked in 30 seconds. 13, that's 12/16 is 3/4. 13/16 is right there. So exactly 13/16 on that side. Spin it around so I can see it. And exactly 13/16 on that side. So I don't need to adjust anything. I don't need to bend these tabs. So that's in exactly where they go. Now I can put in the little valve there, which they call it the accelerator pump discharge valve, which goes right there. So this, when the accelerator pump pulls up, the check valve there puts it in, and then when you let it go, that is the discharge portion of it. All right. Now this is where you have to have 5 hands. This goes in here. And like I said, I'm going to spray some silicone on this to get this to go in. And that has a little spring that goes on it, and a spring retainer, which when I was disassembling it, it fell off and fell back here, but it shows it there, so I'm familiar with where that goes. So now let me get my other matching gasket here if I can. Put these back in the package. This is the gasket I had. It's missing a section there, but that looks pretty close. That one's different. That one's different right there. And in here. So let me double check this one. Yep, this is the correct one. So we spray some silicone on this one. And I'm just using some general purpose PB Blaster silicone lubricant. That's what Mike of Mike's Carburetor said, just any general purpose silicone. I missed a couple spots here. I don't guess this is necessary, but if it keeps the gaskets pliable, I'm all for that. Again, let me blot a little bit of this off. Okay. Upside down. Looks right. You know, I'd really like to have some little studs to go in here to kind of keep that in place. These 1032s. I've got some long 1032s. I'm going to cut the heads off of these things and kind of stick them in the corners to hold the gasket in place as I set the air horn down on it. Then I can put some screws in it and I can take these out. So let me go cut the heads off of these and get them prepared. All right, I'm back. I had these long screws here, 1032s. They were stainless, so naturally I had to use the Dremel cut-off tool to cut the heads off. I was going to snip them off with a pair of wire cutters, but being stainless, that wouldn't work, so I had to grind them off and then shape them a little bit. So I got two on the front where it's kind of skinny here and one back there. One thing that Mike of Mike's Carburetor suggested doing was to put this on the air horn before trying to get it in there. So I'm going to put it on the air horn and get that little linkage on there. And then try to get it squared away. This goes through there. And remember, we got that little pin and we put it in the middle. And then we spread that open to keep it from coming out. And you turn it in the correct direction so that I can do that. Just need to twist it open a little bit to keep it from sliding out. So that's what happens on that. And then he also suggests, careful with my float there, just putting this in. That hangs in there. Float's working. And the other trick is we got to snake this. You know, I think I'm going to try to take that out of here. Yeah, I'm going to take that off rather than try to fight it, putting that cover back on. It's got a little hair clip, I call them. You can see that. It's not a C-clip. It's like a little bobby pin that holds that in there on the choke. And it goes that way, but I'm not going to try to fight all three of them trying to get in there. So we've got our accelerator pump discharge in there that hadn't fallen out. Everything's good here. Get that going up in there. In theory, if we line everything up, That's in the little hole. That's working. I think that's good. I'm going to put a couple screws in it just to snug it up. Those studs were an excellent idea, if I have to say so myself. And remember, this one is the one that takes the special screw, so I'm not going to put it in yet. I'm just going to put these two in as soon as I find my Phillips screwdriver. There it is. Okay, I'm just going to snug those in there. Now this piece goes up in there, and the spring the spring goes through the hole, little hole in there. There we go. And you can see, accelerate, that accelerator pump is working. Now let me try to snake this guy back down into here. I'll see if I can get this little hair clip back on there. Well, that wasn't as difficult as I had anticipated. I want to spin it around to be sure I have it on there all the way. Yep. Now this goes on, and a little C-clip goes on there. And again, my special handy dandy tool from my radio technician days. That made light work of that. And again, I'm going to spin it around to be sure I have it on there completely. Yep. Well, I think that's everything. I'll start putting these screws back in the air horn. And again, I'm going to put the special screw, which is a flathead, in that one position. Get that in there. Start taking out my little alignment studs. Put screws in there. And now we'll snug them up, and we'll start with the special screw. Okay, I took the dash pot off here when I was dipping the throttle body in, so I'm going to put that back in. It's got a rubber diaphragm, and I didn't want to put that in that corrosive stuff. I had it marked where it was. So I get it roughly in the same spot. Tighten that down. I think I've got a little more to go. It was a magic marker, you know, so you can only do so good with a magic marker. That's better. Okay. I see gasket all the way around, so I didn't misalign the gasket. I think my little stud idea worked very well. And I'm going to put on a new fuel filter. Little gasket here. They don't recommend using any kind of Teflon tape or anything on these threads because it could get into the carburetor. So that gasket isn't going to do anything for this thing. Let's see here. Tapered thread, so should tighten up and seal without a gasket. I think I need a smaller wrench. Well, not that small. Oh well, I'll use what I got. I'm not putting any pressure on it. It just looks like I got a giant gorilla wrench here, but starting to snug up now. There we go. It looks like everything is back where it should be. Need to put my air cleaner screw back in there. Get another nut on there, that way I can tighten that. use the two opposing nuts to tighten that stud up. There we go. Now I can loosen these two. Tighten this guy down. There we go. And no leftover parts. So let me get this back on the car, and if it runs okay, I'll be showing you that. Well, as soon as I got gas in it, it started right up. Got no leaks. Everything looks good. The next step will be to take it out on a test drive, which I'm not sure I can do today. But at any rate, it looks successful so far. Thanks guys for watching. Please like and subscribe.